And so I said, okay, I will. So it's quite a contrast with you in snowy Central Park, but it's a beautiful photo.
Yes, well, thanks, Ed. It's I say we've got a storm on the way here in New York in about 48 hours, which I think you in California are contributing to, uh, which is usually good news. So yeah, so I thought let's have a bit of festive snow. So I've Central Park behind me,
Yes, that's great. That's
and
great.
it's absolutely beautiful. And this particular bit here, you can see, has been used on multiple film sets and as locations and stuff. Mary, I think I saw a Mary Poppins one or something somewhere, or it was Home Alone, or someone was feeding the pigeons, and that was the bridge. This is the bridge. So
Yeah. So that's at around what, 65th Street, looking towards the GM building, which is what,
yeah,
that's sort of right across from the Plaza Hotel.
yeah, it's somewhere around there. It's that part of yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's nice. I remember being there in the past. Okay, let's talk about that thing you sent me, the news item from Wall Street Journal about some developers are stepping up about refurbishing high rises into apartments, condos.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually. A great article in the Wall Street Journal the other day about downtown Manhattan becoming the epicenter of office to residential conversions in well, certainly in New York, but probably across the country, I would think, because it's such a big deal. Um, New York and America, speaking as an Anglo-American, is really responsive in terms of planning and getting things done and getting things through. They have a load of permitting restrictions and red tape like you do in London, but they're really good at cutting through all that sort of stuff. And there's a huge housing shortage here in New York, which we're going to dip into in a second, take a closer look at that.
And that's
And
causing the high prices, of course.
well, this is the thing, actually. I mean, this isn't like affordable housing that Mandani, for example, is looking for, and that in the UK and London they're looking for. In fact, in London, they've actually slackened the restrictions on the percentage of affordable housing in new developments. So, because they want to, both these cities have a problem, and the problem is there's a shortage of housing. The only way you can fix that is by building, actually, is by building. Converting is great, but not everyone's going to be able to afford the price of a downtown Manhattan apartment. It's sort of it's great that these buildings are being converted, but it's going to be out of a lot of people's price range. But it's a step in the right direction, and I think that's probably what could be said for it. Um, and we'll see how it goes. But it's a good article, and if you like the pendulum, it's going to say the wind, but the breeze, but the pendulum is sort of moving in the right direction, it seems.
Oh,
Um,
that's something good to refurbish the old buildings. It's very expensive, I would assume, to
yeah, yeah. I mean,
redevelop the insides and without windows opening. And so, uh,
yeah. You sort of get one window type of thing at the front. Yeah, I mean, it is an expensive job. It has to be economically viable, of course, to make it happen. Um, Rents are incredibly high in New York, in Manhattan. I'm talking about rents specifically at the moment. Prices, of course, are always expensive in Manhattan, but top end stuff, it's been having a bit of a lull. So I think I don't know, but certainly in terms of rental investments, these might not be too bad. Um, but we'll see what happens. But the point is, they are actually trying to do something to increase the supply, albeit it might not be quite the right supply in the right place for the people they really want to help.
Yeah, yeah, I recall that. So
Yeah.
let's talk about what's going on in your two cities, the twin cities of Curzon Central, London and Manhattan and
Okay.
Brooklyn and Brooklyn.
Well, what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, switch over to the slides now
Yes.
and take a look at firstly at the relocation markets and what's happening there, and then have a look at New York and London and see how those dots join up. And I think that will give quite an interesting picture as to what's going on, at least in the markets that we operate in. So without further ado,
Yes.
keep
My
your
screen share is open, so load them
keep,
up.
keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah. All right.
And
Excuse me.
let's see what we've got here.
So I don't have a microphone on my headset, so I'm talking into the screen, but apparently you can hear me okay.
Oh yeah, no problem at all. No problem
Good,
at all.
good. Okay, well, I love this. I saw this on
Yeah.
your your post this morning on LinkedIn.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's sort of, a picture and 1,000 words and Teddy Savalas and the
it
rest of the
certainly
stuff.
is gripping to watch.
It's this is what's happening. I mean, in the world of sort of companies, the whole world of relocation is changing. The old models are going. People are much more flexible and adaptable. I mean, shorter terms are literally sort of parachuting in type of thing. Um, but it's quite a good metaphor for the changes that are taking place in the corporate relocation world. And really, I just thought we'd have a quick look at sort of three of the main issues ahead for 2026. Um, and then I'm going to hop over to London and New York and then sort of put these in context there.
Okay,
Uh,
let's go.
so a bit of a story. So look, the three big things basically that the companies moving people, organizations moving people, are going to be faced with in this year is really the whole immigration visa compliance stuff. And that is constantly changing, as we all know, in terms of visas, in terms of tax, in terms of social security, who can live where, how long they can stay, that type of thing. And it's a constantly, it is constant moving sort of feast type of thing. It's a nightmare for people moving, and it's a nightmare for human resources and mobility managers and so on. So that's going to be one of the big issues too, that's going to be needed to continue to be drilled down on. The other thing is finance. It's always been like almost the number one heading actually before immigration. Costs, relocation costs very high, housing costs very high. Technology has changed the whole way that people can move and can bring costs all the way down. I mean, our technology reduces relocation costs by 60 to 80% for some organizations. So that has always been a big concern, and everyone's trying to address that. But it's an obvious place to save money. You just got to find the right tools to do the job to save that money. But watch out for that this year. I mean, there's going to be a lot more of that around. Yes, talking about parachuters, there's a shortage of talent around. I mean, and that talent still wants to be moving. A lot of new joiners, a lot of people early, younger, I say younger, I mean, people who've been in organizations for a few years. One of the reasons they join is that they want to move. They want to have an international experience. Companies want to give them that so they can bring it back home and share it and operate on an international and a global basis. So again, there has to be smarter ways of doing things and more cost-effective ways of doing things. The other thing is things need to be a lot more personal, a lot more personalized to the individual. One size, it's the old, it's the old cliche, one size doesn't fit all, but it really does not, particularly in these days of mobile technology in particular. So there's a need for change. Mobility programs need to be a lot more flexible. Remote comes more and more into it. It doesn't have to be remote, by the way, but when people are traveling, everyone's working off, I don't know if you can sort of see this, but a mobile phone. It's pretty important that people can do things on the go these days. And companies, they need to really redesign, rethink their relocation benefits, their strategies, and how they're going to do this. And that's going to result in a win-win situation. So anyway, I just wanted to sort of put that out there as a sort of marker.
Yeah, well, that is really interesting. The three top concerns: complex regulations,
Yes,
compliance, and
all of that.
then rising costs,
Yeah,
and also the complexity of assignments,
yeah.
shorter term, almost. Let me ask you a question. Do you think it's going to become a rule that people who would like to go work internationally for the company must first work internationally remote? In other words, they stay in the US, but they actually work remotely using Zoom or whatever program in Europe. Let's just say Europe, or it could be anywhere, but otherwise there's so much risk connected with sending people into Europe, for instance, on a relocation assignment. Wouldn't it make sense to assign them right now before they take that plunge, to get acquainted with people in advance by working like you and I are working right now? You're in New York, I'm in San Diego. Uh, I could work from San Diego and be in London, you know,
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
vice versa. And then you build up a relationship with some people and you get to learn from a distance, you get to learn do's and don'ts and things like that. So that when you actually go on the assignment, the risk is lower. You already have a network in place and you just parachute right in. Looking at these young kids free falling, skydiving without a parachute brings all that to mind. I really love this picture of is that the Pall Mall area?
Yes, that's Wilton Crescent here. We shifted to London. And just for a bit of fun, below is one of the London cavalry regiments. And I put this up because I'm actually a member of this regiment. And this fellow here with the big hat, all the braid, is actually a very good friend of mine. Uh, and I just came across the picture purely by chance. I thought, oh, I'll put Alan up on the screen.
Oh, that's really
He'll
wonderful.
enjoy
Look,
that. Yeah, so
yes,
he's the commanding officer of the light cavalry, the HAC, Honourable
the
Officer Company.
HAC. I remember you took me into that Castle Club. That
Yeah,
was just smashing. That was
yeah.
great. So let me ask you something about this hat that he's wearing. Is that heavy or does it just look heavy?
No, I don't think it's too bad actually. It's I mean, it's a great looking bit of kit. But no, I don't think it's too bad. I think it's hollow. But I mean, you do have to sort of put them on properly and so on. And in fact, they've asked me back to. It's very nice of them actually, just by the by, to go and actually meet with them with a view to sort of joining them from afar, so to speak, and popping over for the occasional sort of ceremonial um, something or the other, like marching the Royal Mayor's Parade. They need people who can ride horses. And Alan and I have been riding horses together for decades. So, I'll
Good for you.
be a bit of a spare part if it comes off. But anyway, we'll see what happens. A bit of fun. Um,
Yes. Oh, that's really something to look forward to. That's great.
yeah, so anyway, I'm just going off the subject a little bit. Um, but good news in London. And Curzon, by the way, becoming a lot more active in London. It's the other thing I just wanted to mention. We're heading into much more agency work in London. We've been doing mainly property management up to now, but our buying and acquisition and actually letting on is we're really strengthening that this year, and which means that we have even more access to properties for relocation clients or just regular people who are looking to rent. But anyway, the thing I wanted to really stress is that rents are coming down unbelievably, having skyrocketed in London, across Greater London, that is, and they're beginning to fall a bit. And the reason is that supply has actually picked up. It's sort of interesting. I mean, there are things going on in London, in the UK, which are sort of turning people away from the country a bit at the moment. And this is part of the reason that we are seeing a bit more rental property available at lower rents. Also, there's some brilliant infrastructure in London now. The Elizabeth line, where you can be living, say, 4 or 5 miles outside of the centre of London. And you can still get into places like Bond Street, Liverpool Street, Paddington within like 10 to 20 minutes on the Elizabeth line. So many more options and many more affordable options in London, which is good to see. Having said that, there are some exceptions. And the exceptions tend to be places like Knightsbridge and Belgravia. So sort of luxury locations, again, sort of a bit similar to New York. But even there is a softening. And it's going to be really interesting this year to see what happens. In May, new legislation takes effect from the Renters' Rights Act of 2025 last year, capping rents and so on. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. So that's where we are in London. So I'm going to go on to the next slide, if that's okay. Just keeping an eye on
Yes.
the time here.
Yep.
So what's happening in Manhattan? Well, Manhattan is not the same picture. Rents are still at record highs over here. It's nice to have some numbers, but the average rent now exceeds 5,600 a month. Quite a chunky number. You're seeing growth in rents of 12 to 13% year on year. Will we see that going into 2026? I don't know. My guess is probably we will still see rents going up. I mean, even during this, the winter months, where we are now and behind me, the market's very strong. There's fewer apartments available. Rents are very high. There's a scarcity here. There's a scarcity. So for London and New York have run sort of pretty well in parallel for different reasons. For probably the last, well, since the pandemic almost, I would say. But now we are seeing different factors emerging. We're sort of seeing a separation of those markets. And a large part of that, I think, is due to the UK government's view of landlords and basically non-doms and people like that. And I think companies are a little bit wary about going to the UK. They love the UK, they love London, they love, particularly American companies. But there's some challenges there now. Uh, and we'll see what's going to happen. 2026. Watch out for May 2026. Second half of the year is going to be a very different story to the first half, but we don't know how it's going to play out.
But something will change. Is that it?
Yeah, but New York is going to remain tight, and it's a fantastic city. And I think the other thing about New York, Scott Mandamin is now the mayor, and he has a very strong affordability agenda, which is a good thing. But quite how he's going to make that work remains to be seen. The other thing about housing and property, I mean, having been dealing with property for, I don't know, close on to 30 years or more now, things don't tend to move very quickly. It takes time. They're not, real estate is not a particularly liquid asset. It takes time to build things. You've got to buy things. You've got to get planning. You've got to pull the whole thing together. I mean, there's a lot to it. So anyway, it will be fascinating to see what happens here in New York City. And we'll see how that plays out. It's the beginning of the year, so we'll see what's ahead.
Well, James Moss, thank you very much for this quickie, this tour of London and New York City, and what's going on right now. This is very informative and very helpful. And I love your personal asides and your quips and your insight. And I'm excited to continue this series with you as we see things evolve.
Well, it's a very interesting time for all sorts of reasons, and there's lots of things going on, geopolitical things as well as domestic American things, domestic UK things.
Yeah.
But the markets, the markets are the markets, and particularly when you're relocating, I mean, there's always going to be a supply. The question is, what's going to be the price point?
Yeah. Thank you very much for being on the show with me. I love Curzon comments. Let's do it again soon.
Well, thank you very much, Ed. All the best,
Thank
and
you.
love catching up. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.